Welcome to DT Madness, Chronicles from the Third Life, Episode 30, October 22nd, 2022. So glad you could make it. Well, I did have a good time doing the That One Thing podcast last week, and so kind of just continuing the theme this week, but instead of one thing, the three things. I think we have 17 categories, so we'll split it up about halfway for a little halftime fun. And we'll see. Of course, you can see the time already when you start to listen. I've been averaging right at 30 minutes. This one could go longer. We will see how much rambling I get into. The first category are the three places that I want to go. And one is back to Glacier National Park. Sarah and I drove around the country right before Sam was born, and we did spend a little bit of time in Glacier, but for the most part, we just drove through it, which is magnificent in itself. The Going to the Sun Road is what it's called, and it really is phenomenal. But I would like to go back to Glacier and do some hiking. I'm not much of a camper type guy, but I'd love to hike in and take some walks and do some of that type of stuff back in Glacier. The second place is the place I haven't been, and that's Acadia National Park up in Maine. I've been to Boston, but I just flew in there. I've not driven and seen the coast up there in the Northeast. Never been to Vermont or New Hampshire. Pretty much, most of the rest of the country I've been to, other than the Utah area, which could have made this list as well. But instead, for number three, the places I want to go on fish tour. um, I actually really, I don't know, a little bit flirted with looking into tickets and hotels and flights and all that kind of stuff for the New Year's run up at Madison Square Garden, because seeing fish at Madison Square Garden would be, yeah, that'd be good. Um, but I think I'll hold off on that one for this time, but definitely can't wait until spring dates come out, and anything that's within, I don't know, 6 hours, 8 hours. I'm probably going to make the drive, so let's go. The second category are things that I want to end. Number one is my irrational fear. I guess it's irrational fear of going to the doctor. Um, Although I tell you what, the more people I talk to, I'm definitely not alone in this particular thing. I know what we got going on. I mean, there's a lot of things that we develop with our mortality and wondering about what diseases we got and trying to avoid all that thinking, or maybe that is just me. Um, I do have to say, and apologies for real, like I have a lot of people that work in the medical profession and are just phenomenal people, and I know what their motives are. But there is this sense that the like traditional medical industry, they are looking to do all the tests and send you for this scan and that scan, and I don't want all that. I mean, I again, I know it's irrational because if they find the stuff, then they can help you and whatever. But um, I'm more of a trying to be healthy kind of guy, and whatever. I'm sure I'm just rationalizing it away, but I do kind of want that to end. The second thing I want to end are partisan school board races, and that's something that's kind of new here in North Carolina. Our Republican legislature made school board races partisan a couple of years ago, and we're seeing that in our county right now with people are just going to vote for people because they're Republican. And like the Republican, this one-liner political culture, which I hate on both sides. Like if you think that you're political and smart and savvy and all that kind of stuff, and you're just retweeting or posting a meme or whatever on Instagram with a one-liner comeback or whatever, like that's not it. That's not it. And I want all that to end. And unfortunately, it's made its way into school board races, which, I mean, honestly, really don't have much to do with the national political parties. Anyway, we'll see what happens in a couple weeks. I'm hopeful that a couple of people that just because they have their a D beside their name can perhaps win because of their lifetime of experience and service. Anyway, another thing I want to end is this clenching my jaw and my neck. Like that's where I hold my tension. I've been trying to do some exercises and some meditation techniques and things like that to try to release all that kind of stuff and discover maybe why my tension goes there or what is the tension that's going there. But uh, yeah, that's definitely where I hold it. The next category are things that instead of things I want to end, things I want to continue. And number one is the Electoral College. I hear the arguments that it's outdated, and I definitely understand the argument that smaller states and smaller populations have more of a say so per person. I think Wyoming, with 500,000 people, gets about 1.5 or 1.6 electoral votes per person than California does, that has 50 million people. So I do understand that it's not a true democratic process, but I and I would be okay with ending the filibuster in the Senate to make that chamber more democratic. But the Electoral College, I think it's valuable because I think it does require the majority that does move quickly, the masses that do move quickly, to be held in check. And I'm not here for a lot of the rural, I'm not really here for the beliefs that they're holding on to, especially the way that those folks are being, I think, manipulated by the national machine into, again, this one-liner meme type anger and rage and all this kind of stuff. But there's something to small town, there's something to, rural values that we, I think, should hold on to. So I think the Electoral College should continue. Another thing I hope that continues is my kids playing tennis. Um, Sam is in college now, and I don't know how much tennis he gets to play in Boone when it's 35 below zero up there, but I do hope that at some point he plays again in some tournaments, and I can't wait until Sydney gets back after a little bit of a rest from the season and gets back out on the courts, and Isaac as well. I hope that they're able to get into some tournaments, some UTR tournaments. I think I used to call them UTI, but that's a different thing. Um, I love watching my kids play tennis, man. It's just, oh, I mean, I love it. I've got whole podcast episodes about it. Number three, things I want to continue is the way I teach. And I just say that because I definitely, in my 20th year, two-thirds of the way, towards retirement, um, I could easily see how people can fall into the routine, how you can fall into just mailing it in, just getting your paycheck. I'm not saying they don't love the kids, but it does require a lot of energy, and there are a lot of obstacles. And sometimes it feels like we're banging our heads against the wall for a variety of reasons. But um, like I've had students in my class recently say, it just seems like that we don't do anything in here. And I take that as the biggest compliment because I know where we are. And I've been doing this for 2 decades, and I know what preparation is necessary for the AP exams. My scores are always really good, whatever. I know what it means to let a classroom breathe, and that you can't just force the curriculum every single day. At least not. You gotta respect the ebbs and flows of the classroom. You got to develop trust and mutual respect, and that may take 9 weeks. It has for me in some of my classes. But just this past Friday, I got to give a decent talk about redeeming, the Grinch. I've talked about that a little bit last week. He was redeemed. And so this Christmas, if you call somebody a Grinch, say it in love, say it in hope. Um, but I translated that into what do we think about when we think about politics and politicians? And that has a negative connotation to it. It drives a lot of people away. We'll be lucky if we get 50% turnout. of people that can vote. Most people don't want to participate, they just don't care. They've been turned off by it all, and I understand. Politicians have a reputation for a reason, but it's, politics at its root is it's us. We're the polity, it's the people. And we live in a system in which the people get to decide if they will, and how do we develop power and or share power, and how do we share resources, and where are we going to put our priorities and all that kind of stuff. But also there's this aspect to it of public service. And my kids in AP government are working towards developing contacts with second grade classes where they're doing live Zooms, reading books, acting them out, having a wonderful time. They're launching fundraisers where they can create book nooks around town, as well as book bundles for kids that don't have those, sponsoring kids with needs that don't have, the means to go to the book fair. Y'all remember the book fair? Man, I remember the book fair. But anyway, um, we got to have each other's back, and the way that I teach, I try to teach that with the curriculum. I do that for sure, but these kids are coming from a lot of different places and a lot of different situations, and they're experiencing loss, and we're clawing our ways out of the pandemic where we had to do all this seemingly isolated, and in some ways in reality isolated. um, but developing this notion that we are here for each other, we are the polity, like redeeming the term politics, those types of things that I get to do. That's what makes my job um, a career, a calling, whatever. But I hope that I can continue to do that over the next 10 years. Things that I want to start. I want to start hiking to waterfalls. I've made that a resolution, I think, for the last couple of years. And I've been to the one up by, what is that one called? I can't remember. Um, Before you get to Black Mountain, whatever. I've been to that one. It's cool. But I want to try to find, a different one every month or two and hike to some waterfalls. Another thing I want to start is counseling. Like, I got a lot of things, man. I got a lot of things, and I know that's why I have a clenched jaw, and why I have a tight neck, and why I can't let go, or why it's very difficult for me to. I know the things that affect and impact my identity, things from a long time ago that I have avoided and tried to suppress, and things that have happened just from a couple of years ago, and whatever, like the whole thing of life. And I need to start that, and I know the value of it, and I know also how stubborn and resistant I am, and I need somebody. I kind of know what I want, but I need a guide. So anybody has a recommendation. Anyway, the third thing I want to start are pickleball courts. And there's some pickleball courts at the Y, and that's fine. But we've got these little league fields down around town, and I don't want to necessarily get rid of those completely, but I think we got a great spot for some outdoor pickleball courts, and it's kind of a thing that's taken off. And Kevin Durant bought a pickleball franchise, so I'm thinking about reaching out to him and seeing if he wants to invest in Boiling Springs, maybe build us some pickleball courts. I never really played pickleball. Maybe in high school PE, was that pickleball? Did we call that wall ball? I don't remember. The next three things is other jobs that I've had. I've been a teacher, like I said, for 20 years. The the first real job I had was at the uh, Coca-Cola bottling plant in Shelby. And I was like, I don't remember, freshman year at Gardner Webb, which was like my second freshman year, and I think that's where it was. I remember making like $7 an hour, which I guess is still the minimum wage. But anyway, um, I had to count the trucks when they came in. In other words, like they would go out and sell the different pallets, and I learned, how many were in each pallet. I could just raise up the doors by the time I got into it a couple of months and count how many, bottles they sold, and make sure it squared up with their paperwork and all that kind of stuff. And then, but then another part of my job was to check for out of date bottles, and then I had to dump those out of dates into this big bin, big tank, out back, and there were just a billion bees swarming around. But I never did get stung, and that was pretty good. But I was always wary of it, And I also know that what these cans and bottles look like in the warehouse, and so that's why I always wipe the top of my can off. But anyway, um, another job that I've had, maybe I've mentioned this before, but when we first got married, or when I got out of college, um, I was a part-time youth pastor at Sandy Run, and wow, that was really something. I've never been much of a like pizza party and cake kind of guy. I've never been like, let's get them here with the pizza parties and the cake. I just want to teach, and that didn't really work out because that's not really how youth groups seem to work. And we did have a lockout one time. Oof, that took some years off my life. It didn't really end well, as things with churches often don't, I guess, with me anyway. Maybe that is just me. Number three is I had what was called DT's cleaning service. I was self-employed there for a little while. I had DT's cleaning service, and I had, what did I have? I had one, two, three, four houses on the regular that I would clean for $80 a pop. Man, that was pretty good money to clean, once every week or two. And I would do a deep clean of all the stuff, bathroom, take me about 3 hours. Um, Often I would use the rainbow vac, but like getting into the nooks and crannies of the little toilet seat things and I had some other houses that I picked up too. Some of y'all are nasty, and I will say that I did make it my policy that to never comment on somebody's house to someone else while I was doing the DT's cleaning service. But there was one house that I did have to comment on, and also probably ran me out. I made enough money to buy a couch, and then I quit. But I still do love cleaning my house. The next thing is clothing items that are my fave. Thanks y'all for sending in these categories. Most of these are not ones that I came up with myself. They're ones that were sent in by my faithful tens of listeners. But number one has got to be my Birkenstocks. I've been wearing them since junior year in high school. It's not something I've come to recently. Gabe Wisnett for sure started the trend, and but the Arizona 43 suede tote, that's me. I get a new pair about every 2 years because I wear them really just about every day. I'll hike in them. I'll do whatever. They're the best, man. They fit your feet. I like them. The next thing are pretty new, and these are these things. I guess they're called joggers. I don't know. I call them tapered. They're tapered at the bottom for sure, and I don't even know what this material is made out of. These are bay leaf, Baleaf, but they got like vents on the side, and they got cool zipper pockets. But you got to be easy with the zipper. They will kind of get hung up, but I got the style down. You can sit in the sand with them, and when you stand back up, like it doesn't stick. And they keep you cool in the summer, and they're not like they keep me warm, at least underneath other pants in the winter. But man, I love these things so much. I wear them every single day. They're the next thing, and I'm so glad that it finally got cold because just maybe last year I became a scarf guy, and now I am wearing my scarf. And we've got an event tonight in town, and I can't wait to wear my scarf. And I went to read to some kids yesterday, and they said it was a Slytherin scarf. So last time I had a Hufflepuff tie on, and this time I had a Slytherin scarf. And that's why I told them I really was Harry Potter. The next thing is new things that I do. And the first one has to do with my morning routine. I stopped drinking caffeine for the most part. I'm not swearing off coffee, but I am not drinking it every single day. I think that when I go to a coffee shop or when I have a cup of coffee at your house or something like that, it's going to just be really amazing. But I did cut back on the caffeine, and I've been drinking this stuff called Mud Water, which is an adaptogenic mushroom blend. I did a lot of research on this stuff. I'm on day four. One, three, and four. I think I really can tell the difference in my energy levels and my focus and all that kind of stuff. Day two, I was really tired, so I don't know what happened there, but I'm gonna keep track of it. And but maybe also like I've been waking up at 5. This is a part of new things that I do. This is part of my morning stretch routine. Like I found this Native American flute music, and man, it is just really awesome. And I do my yoga stretches or whatever. I've kind of made up my own routine. It's stretches that I developed when I hurt my back last year. But getting up and doing those stretches and going through that ritual, reading Thich Nhat Hanh for the day, maybe dipping into some Young Pueblo, reading this book called Light, which is really good too. A Wendell Berry poem or something like that, and then the mud water, which it doesn't taste bad. It tastes okay. It's just got this grit in it, like you really are drinking dirt. I used their packet that they gave me today with coconut milk, powdered coconut milk, and MCT oil, and that actually made it a lot smoother and maybe gave me a lot more energy. But that's been a pretty cool addition. Like I definitely just been waking up at 5 without any kinds of alarm. The second thing I started to do is reading to the kids, and I've been going to read to second graders just about every Friday for the past month or two. And it's just, oh man, it's fantastic. And when I tell them I teach at the high school, all the kids, they raise their hands and they're like, do you know my sister? Do you know my brother? And then I'm like, maybe, but I did know some of them this week and they were really excited about that. But this whole thing is just, I'll be honest with you, like, for a couple of times I've thought about what would it be like to go back and get my licensure to be able to teach elementary school, maybe for the next, for the last 10 or 8 years or something like that, maybe six. I definitely want to stay up there until my kids get out of high school, but I don't know, then that'd be a whole different animal. The next or the final thing and new things I do is hiking the Birch Trail down at the river, and that thing takes me about 45 minutes to go around. Um, or maybe once I get on it, it's about 32 to 34 minutes. I'm doing about a mile in about 16 minutes. But that first half is all uphill, and that gets my heart rate up to about 160, and then I'm coasting down, and there's always deer out there, not always, but almost every time. There's deer in the woods that run away, but sometimes now I can't sneak because the leaves are too crunchy. But anyway, the hike in the Birch Trail, I do like it because it's quiet and it's out in the woods and there's some different perspectives. It's not by the river, and so when I come out and I'm back to the river, it's that sound that I love so much. Last one before halftime, and I can see that this one's gonna run long. But these are three things that I want to do as mayor. Um, One of them is I want to build connections with the Earl Scruggs Center to the town of Boiling Springs. I'm a board member at the Earl Scruggs Center as well, and they just do fantastic stuff. What a great group of people. Mary Beth Martin um, is just a phenomenal leader. I mean, so much energy and drive, and she's doing great things with them serving the community. They're involved with PALS as well. I mean, they're involved with so much. I got a good story about that at halftime, but um, Earl Scruggs is from he's a banjo bluegrass picker and legendary, uh, you know, influenced Jerry Garcia, but is from Flint Hill, which is just right down the road, right where I go to the river. And anyway, I'm looking forward to building those ties. I'm looking forward to continuing to build like a walkable, Wendellberry type town. I don't mean necessarily with acres and acres of farmland, but what I mean is where people are comfortable at home in the place, where we build community and ties and we know each other. Um, because I think that's the antidote to this one-liner political culture that we've got that's so poisonous. So like the event we have tonight with Music on Main and developing sidewalk trails and trails and sidewalks that connect and kind of develop this downtown loop and all that kind of stuff. The third thing is I want to connect with Gardner Webb University a little bit better. I'm an alum. I graduated in 2001. I graduated in 2007 with my master's. I grew up there on campus. My parents worked there forever. My dad was there for 43 years. It's a tough thing for me because my dad was there for 43 years. My dad got cancer and couldn't pass his I mean, he wasn't able to qualify on the shooting range because of his weaknesses. And so therefore he didn't, I mean, anyway. But Gardner Webb they just fired him, and it was a bunch of BS. And I'm still pissed about it. And it's tough because the relationship with the town and the college has always been off and on, but it's definitely rocky with the some of the leaders that are there now. But I want to put all that to the side as best we can because what does William James say? The best thing to do in life is to invest in things that are going to outlive you, that are going to outlast you. And I know that these things, these relationships between the college and the town, are bigger than petty squabbles and real squabbles, ones that aren't even petty. Anyway, but I hope to do that too. All right, now I will make halftime a little bit short if I can help it because I can see we may be pushing an hour on this one today. Uh, if you stick with this whole thing, and I will definitely be impressed. You'll have to let me know. The halftime thing, I just want to challenge you to do this. It's something I've tried to do a couple times, but if you're right-handed, try to brush your teeth with your left hand, and vice versa with your offhand. Maybe you're like my son who can do things both. He's basically amphibious and he can do things with both hands. But what can you? Um, it's a struggle. It is a struggle, and maybe I think if you do it enough times, obviously you'll get better. But just think about it. Do it the first time. Brush your teeth with your offhand and laugh at yourself while you do it. Don't jab yourself. I mentioned the Earl Scruggs thing and uh, there's a gentleman there that works there. He was my principal. He was my high school history teacher and psychology teacher, and now he's a board member with me at the Earl Scruggs Center. But he uh, leads tours with fourth graders through the museum, and they do some activities with them and stuff like that. But after they watch the video, one of the fourth graders comes up to Mr. Harris and says, "Hey, are you Earl Scruggs?" And Mr. Harris said, "No, no, no, I'm not Earl Scruggs. If you remember in the video, they it said that Earl Scruggs died." And the little kid said, "No, it didn't. It said we lost him." And yeah, man, that's pretty great. This little kid thought they lost Earl Scruggs, and now they had found him. They found him. Um, anyway, uh, kind of a joke. I don't know if people can take jokes anymore, but we've kind of been debating in our house if the next Civil War breaks out, then maybe it's between the MAGA group and Swifties with T Swift and Swizzle and all her new album that I mean sounds exactly the same over and over and over. I know people say that about my music too, but whatever. Who you got? Who you got? Well, we probably could just say that that was the end and this is about the right time, but whatever, man. I'm just going to keep going. I'll try to go through this kind of quickly, but the next three are the most beautiful scenes that I've ever seen. And one of them was in Polson, Montana. Before we even got to Glacier, we were at a KOA, and we played putt putt there, and it was awesome. And we were sleeping in our cabin by then. We might still have been in tents at this point, sleeping. And I had to get up in the middle of the night and pee, and so you had to walk to the bathhouse at like 3 in the morning, something like that. And so when I woke up, though, the moonrise was just coming up over the mountains. It was like a full moon. I'm not even kidding, or was it? It was at the moon set. I don't know. It was one of those, and then like the northern lights were flaring. Oh my God, that was awesome. Oh man, I can't wait to get back to Montana. The next one is at Devil's Tower. Is that in Wyoming? I think it's in Wyoming. When I was a college freshman at Gardner Webb, my second freshman year, um, we went on an outward trip, a trip out west with some people, a group from Maryville College, and we hiked up to Devil's Tower. We hiked up to it, like to the base of it, and again, full moon going on, just stars all over the place because no light pollution at all out there. And there was this group of friends out there. This girl Amy with an E, Amye, which is a weird way to spell it. Dustin and what was the other guy's name? Darren, I think, and his other brother Daryl, perhaps. But we're just friends, good people that I could talk to. The third one, oh man, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I've got to. Most beautiful scenes I've ever seen. It's when we dropped Sam off at college, and we were driving away, and we're in the parking deck, like an old dirty nasty parking deck, and my three kids hugged each other with tears in their eyes. Man, oh, the human relationship is just beautiful. It's just beautiful through the struggles, through the good times. Like think about the amazing joy and the amazing whatever, what all kinds of emotions are going into that. The next things I love about the iPhone, the music. I love it. I love music, and I'm always playing music. And there's so many options on the iPhone. I love Amazon Photos, the app Amazon Photos, because I've dumped all of my old photos. I've got, I think, 12,000 of them in there, and it shows me the photo of the day, and that's pretty cool to look back on the memories from this day. And I really am liking the watch, the Apple Watch with the sleep monitors and the health monitors to just keep track of my fitness. I'm trying to get back, trying to be pretty firm 180. That's my goal for January 28th, 2023, when I will be 45. Three things I hate about the iPhone are the socials, how addicted I am to the socials and those red notifications, how many times I pick up the phone per day to check to see if there's one of those red notifications. Oh, come on, man. You're a grown man. This is definitely one of the things I need to talk about in that counseling session is my need for affirmation, and how a little red one can give it to me. The next one is my top three greatest personal sports moments, and I don't know. There's four of them. Not gonna lie, but one of them is fourth grade basketball. It was my Michael Jordan game, man. I had like the I don't know. I had to play with like cough drops. My throat was so sore, and I felt terrible. I don't know if I had a fever. Let's say I had a fever, and I was playing, and we were playing against Elizabeth and my rival at the time, Josh Carroll, now one of my best friends in life. But he played for Elizabeth, and he was their star guard, and I was the guard. And you can't press in the backcourt, but I had this nice little spin when you would come across, and all I had to do was get across half court and then pass it to the guys that were going to score. But we dominated, man. We dominated 50-24. Completed the undefeated season. Um, Went to Pizza Inn afterwards and had a great time, man. The second one is high school baseball, and this is kind of a string, senior night. We played against Alexander Central in baseball, and I had a couple hits, made a couple good plays at third, but definitely doubled to get on base. And then Curtis Rayfield drove me home to win the game. We came back, and that was to win the conference. After starting off terribly in the first half of the season, we went on a run. And then into the conference tournament, we also won the conference tournament against Alexander Central once again. I went 4 for 4, made some plays at third, got the conference tournament MVP. Man, that was cool. That was cool. Baseball is fun. The third one is beating Isaac in tennis. I think I only beat him 7-5, and that's probably when he was in sixth grade. And that little dude, I'm sure, would whip me now, or at least he thinks he would. Um, I think he's been scared to get out on the courts since I've got my joggers. But maybe I'll be able to coax him out there once it warms up. The fourth one, I just had to add it in as honorable mention because I recalled it after I had made the three, but I don't know what year it was. I don't remember. I think it's when the Broncos got beat in the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. But the day before that, we had a flag football championship down at this place called the CDH. And me and Tyler Kettering and what was her name? I can't remember the girl's name that was on there. And my son Sam, who was I don't know sixth grade at the time, maybe somewhere around in there. Oh, we dominated. I was the quarterback. I mean, really, all I had to do was get it to Tyler. But what was her name? I could see her face, but I can't remember her name. But she could catch it, and Sam caught some balls, and we went on a run. So that's my greatest personal sports moments. Um, Now we'll go to some most embarrassing moments. And thanks, Matt Worth, for having me talk about my most embarrassing moments. In I eighth grade was just wow. That's when you think everybody's looking at you. That's when you think the whole world is. I guess you're just coming into a lot of understanding. But I had zits because I was in eighth grade, but also I was on the basketball team. And look, I was the stereotypical white guy. I don't mean to ruffle anybody's feathers, whatever. But like I was not super fast. I couldn't jump. I wasn't Woody Harrelson, and white men can't jump, but I could play consistently and I could hustle. And that's why I liked Duke from early on because they would dive on the floor and slap the floor and all this kind of stuff. And I would do that in practice. And I got all these floor burns in the middle school gym and floor burns. And yeah, I got staph infection, and the staph infection just jacked my zits up, man. And I don't know if the other kids were making fun of me as much as I remember that they were, but like, yeah, I don't even know if I've ever told anybody this, but I definitely got my mom's makeup. Is that stuff called concealer? Whatever that brown stuff is that you put on your face. And I covered up my zits. That probably made it worse. Um, Ninth grade basketball. Oh man, I was the backup point guard. I sat on the end of the bench. Me and my friend Josh Lowry, we would be the commentators because we knew we were never going to get in, but we did get in. Like we got in at the end of the game, with trash time. But I mean like seconds left, and we didn't even want to do that. But one time we were playing West Meck, and Sonny Bristol, who was an amazing point guard, he fouled out with 1.6 seconds left, and so I got put in the game, and we're down by 1 point. Had to inbound the ball from full court, so they inbound the ball to me. I dribble, 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 across, just across half court, jack it up. If it goes in, we win. It doesn't go in. Oh, but I got fouled. So now I've got three free throws. Three free throws. All I got to do is make one, and I'm the hero. I send us to overtime. Make two, win the game. I get carried off the court, things like that. Now, first of all, let me say, I don't think you should be able to bang on the bleachers and make all that racket while I'm trying to shoot free throws. I don't think that's right. But yeah, missed them all three. All three. Okay. The third one, and I wanted to put the Grand Tetons in the places I want to go because I do want to go back to the Grand Tetons with my family and hike back up to Lake Solitude. That's a thing that we did on that same trip where we went to the Devil's Tower, and we were hiking up, and my friend that was a good person to talk to, Amy with an E. Maybe I was trying to show off a little bit, and so me and this guy Dustin, we hiked around the lake, and it was just snow covered. I mean, it's July, but there's snow all around. And I mean, on the hike up, there's just these colors of wildflowers that you've never even seen before. It's just stunning. And so we hiking around, and I stepped into a snowdrift and gashed my shin. Now I'm gushing blood. I'm having to pack it in the snow, holding it all the way down. Yeah, I don't know what old Amy with an E thought about that. But anyway, the next one is ways to get warm. Three ways to get warm, and we've had some debates about this. Would you rather be wet and warm, or would you rather be dry and warm? Like, and for me, I go wet and warm, and that's why number one is the hot tub. The hot tub, is what I'm talking about, and that's the best one. And if it's not going to be that way, like if it is got to be dry and warm, then for me, number two is to have the heat on blast in the car when it's cold out, but still with the sunroof open. You still got your boggin on. I love that. And number three is campfire. But you got to have a big campfire because if it's cold out, then the back meat will get cold, and so you got to rotate. And that's the downfall of the dry and warm. Best moments in film. Number one for me has got to be Good Will Hunting. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. What a movie. It's probably my all time favorite. The Rant. I should have looked it up. I meant to look it up, but I don't want to spoil it for you anyway because if you haven't seen Jim Carrey, and it's not, is it Scarlett Johansson that's in The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind? Kirsten Dunst is definitely in it. But if you haven't seen that, it's just really, really fantastic. And at the end, there's just this conversation that they have where she's like, "We're all messed up, man, but that's the way it is, and we got it anyway." Oh, that's a good movie. And then, when Rafiki the sage clocks Simba on his head and he looks into the reflecting pool and he remembers. He remembers who he is. He remembers that he's the son of the king. He remembers that he's got to go back, that Hakuna Matata isn't going to chase the hyenas out of the Pride Land, that he's got to remember who he is. That's a good part. Best days in the year, trying to work quickly here. I don't know why. You don't have to listen if you don't want to. Um, Best days in the year, number one. I know I'm weird here, and I'm going to be sad if the Congress actually does go through with their plan to end this thing. But I love time change. I love it. I love time change. I like getting excited about it about a week before. I figured it out. Like I'll start the clock a day ahead or a little bit. Like this time, not so much because this is fall back. It's just 2 weeks away. I love it. I love fall back. Like it just changes the whole scene. Like it's a whole brand new scene. Now it's dark at 6. But it's light in the morning. I don't know. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Um, Best days in the year are the days of Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, just because we have developed this tradition of going to Hilton Head with our dear friends Matthew and Abigail, and this will be our 10th year of doing so. And I think we're going to get tats, HHX. So we'll see how that goes. But definitely one of the best days in the year there. Number three is Boxing Day, and it's the day after Christmas. And I'm not a big fan of Christmas, but I'm working on it. I'll talk more about this at the end. I talk about redeeming the Grinch and redeeming politics. I'm going to work on redeeming Christmas for me. I don't like the way that I was during Christmas because I can see videos of myself being just a spoiled brat, just stupid. And the whole, like, who gives the best? I just don't. It's not a big fan for me. Boxing Day, the day after, I'm glad when it's all over, but I'm working on it. Okay. Last one, and that is smells. Top three smells. And number one is gardenia flower. It's, man, so good. I haven't found a candle. I haven't found anything that actually replicates that smell. But we've got some gardenia bushes, and when those white blooms, oh man, I just bend down and breathe deep. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh. Um, but I will say, like the next morning campfire smell that's left over on your clothes or in your hair, that's undefeated, man. That is good stuff. And number three, right now, I have to say the BB Dub, like the Bath and Body Works, is it pumpkin cinnamon bun? Something like that. Oh man, it smells so good. I got the single wick when they had the buy two get two free the other day, but so last night I was like, it smells so good. I'm gonna get the big one. I'm gonna get the 3 wick one. But I went on there to look, but they didn't have it. They didn't have it, and they didn't have it in their 12.95 special. But they did have a 12.95 special, so I did end up with 3 new candles. What did I get? Pumpkin patchouli, pumpkin clove, something salted butterscotch. Those all sound good too. I'm a sucker, man. I'm a sucker. I know it. BBW's got me. They got me hooked. Well, thanks for sticking with me for 42 minutes. This has been a Church of Six production. I got a new perspective on the Church of Six this week because my friend Donnie helped me with this perspective. But you know what? When I say the Church of Six, I'm talking about my five and you. You were the six. But now I think about it as well that I'm yours. I'm your six. And that these ripples that we create in these different churches, like in the church where we're all each other's six, those ripples all intersect in a beautiful pattern. But it's been a Church of Six production brought to you by the Token of Hope. This too shall pass. That token has been good for me as I'm driving. If I get worried about something, I'll just tap that and it reminds me. The bucket of life. Ours needs a refresher. Sometimes it gets cluttered with debris, or the water gets cloudy, or you run low on pebbles to toss in. So you got to refresh your bucket of life. Brought to you by the Wall of Belief, the Foundation Tower of Stone, the Magic Rock. And we've got a new temporary sponsor for the next few months, and that is the Paper Chain of Joy. But you'll have to tune in next week to find out more about this one. Don't forget to believe and be live. Peace, my friends.